Hello, my name is Angela Aguayo, and I'm a healthcare reporting supervisor here at Access. And today I'll be presenting on the DUGLess portal version 3.0 on our 2025 updates. Here's an overview of what we'll be going over today. And these are updates that are effective as of July 24th, 2025. There is an addition of ID.me requirements for registering for the Access Online portal. There's removal of the CASI fields, updates to the chemicals level of care values, and most importantly, the addition of SED identification and removal fields in the portal. We have also updated the DUGLess Guide, which can be found on our website under Resources, then Guides, Manuals, and Policies. This presentation and a PDF version of this presentation will be available under our DUGLess website under the Plans/Providers tab very soon. As of January 2024, Access is now working with ID&me to verify identity to access the Access Online portal as a healthcare worker. So this is where the DUGLess portal is located inside the Access Online portal. We do have a section in the DUGLess Guide that goes over the steps on how to register for an account. It also has a section on the ID.me requirements and a link to the Help Center, which describes that process. Next is the removal of the CASI fields. We have removed the CASI intensity level and the CASI intensity date from both single and multiple record options in the DUGLess portal. For those using the multiple records or file upload option, providers are to leave blank or null in the spaces where these fields are located in the record. And there's an updated file layout on page 13 of the DUGLess Guide that will describe that. Next are updates to the CalOCA's level of care values. So for those using the multiple record options, the values for the CalOCA's level of care remain the same and can be found on page 32 of the DUGLess Guide. For those using the single record option, the CalOCA's level of care values have been updated as shown on the screen. So instead of the score, you enter the level as the value. You can go to page 32 of the DUGLess Guide for complete rules and definitions for these fields. So the major update was the addition of the SED identification and removal data. These fields are related to data for members with a serious emotional disturbance and will now be submitted through the DUGLess portal. A new panel of fields have been added, but only to the single record option. And again, these fields are effective as of July 24th, 2025. First, we'll go over how to submit a record as SED identification. The process is similar as entering a regular DUGLess record. You go under single entry, single record. After that, you enter the member's access ID and their date of birth. And it goes through a validation in our system to find the member in our system. Once that happens, the member's name, first name and last, should come up under the member informations panel. Under that is a new question that says, would you like to enter SED identification or removal of identification data for this member? Since we're doing SED identification, we click yes. There's also a date field right under that says SED identification / removal date. This is where you enter the date of the SAD identification. The rules are as follows. It has to be done within a year of when the record is being entered. The system will also look for an active enrollment for this member using this date. And if an active enrollment is not found, an error will appear. And it is the provider's responsibility to figure out what the error is, go back to the health plan. And there's also a link in the DUGLess guide on the SED FAQs that might help with that too. That's in the guide. So once the member's active enrollment is found, the SED panel will appear, and under that, it will pull up the enrolled health plan found and the behavioral health category for that member. First field is called SED identification. Since we're doing an identification field, this is a drop-down list. You will select yes, and this will identify the record as an SED identification. This also means that you have to complete the rest of the fields in the panel. So the diagnosis and the CalOCAS fields are required. For SED diagnosis, it is a text box. You just have to start typing in the diagnosis, and a pop-up window will appear with the list of diagnoses where you can select the appropriate one. This list is based on the qualifying list of SED diagnoses, which can be found on the Access website. Next are the CalOCAS fields. For a level of care, you just click on the drop-down list and select the level of care. And then you type in the CalOCAS date of when the CalOCAS was administered. Since we're doing SED identification, the requirements are that the CalOCAS level of care must be 02 through 06, and the date of administration must be within a year of that SED identification date that was entered previously. Next, you can continue to complete the rest of the DUGLess record, and on the bottom, there's a button to click Submit to submit the record. And you'll get either a message that said it was submitted successfully, or it'll tell you if there's any errors in the file or the record. And you can go to our DUGLess guide for all the rules for the fields. Next, we're going to go over how to submit an SED removal record. So the steps are very similar. You go under single entry, you enter the ID and the date of birth, and their name will pop up under members information. And again, it'll ask you, would you like to enter SED identification or removal of identification data for this member? The answer is still yes, because we're doing a removal. And under the date field below is where you enter the date of the removal of SED. The rules are similar. The date has to be within a year of when the data record is being entered, and it will look for an active enrollment using this date, and error will appear if it is not found. So once the active enrollment is found, the SCD panel will appear with their plan and their category. Now under the SCD identification field, you will click No from the drop-down list, and this will identify the record as SCD removal as of the date that was entered above. From here, the rest of the SCD fields, the diagnosis and colloquial fields, are not required, but the rest of the DUGLess record must be completed. You just have to click Submit on the bottom to submit. Now, if you're entering a DUGLess record that does not include SCD data, you can still do that. Again, you go into single entry, enter the ID and date of birth, and under the member's information, this question again will appear if you like to enter SCD data. Here's where you click No, because this will not be an SCD record. That SCD panel should not appear. And you can continue on to enter the rest of the DUGLess data, which will include the colloquial level of care fields, and you can enter that data as applicable for the member. And that's it. That's a quick overview of the updates. Again, there's more details in our guide online, but also please contact me for any questions or issues as you're going through the portal. And also there is an email on the screen for questions on the SCD process that you may contact. So please contact me again with any questions. I would be happy to help you or direct you in the right direction. And I appreciate your time and have a great day.